I think for women, money is a very emotional, safety laden topic. And when we bring in like the deeper subconscious work, or when we bring in like the deeper relationship to money through astrology, through our own unique astrology blueprint, then very simply that really softens the resistance or the avoidance that we can have to really taking care of this stuff and making a true change. Hello, my gorgeous. Welcome to another episode of Natalia Benson, the podcast. So wonderful to be with you again, and welcome to episode 2 of the Money Motivation series. So something I like to say with the way that I teach you money, my loves, is like, this is like learning money from your supportive Aries bestie versus maybe like a partner or a parent or like someone at a bank. It's like, I'm going to teach you money from not only like real life application, especially as a woman who used to be so terrified of money and very, very quote unquote bad with money, and teaching myself how to be and how to have a healthier relationship and healthier stewardship with my finances, like a true 180. And really all that it took was just the willingness to learn how to do new things and then apply them in my life over time. And of course, apply them to my finances. And essentially, one reason of many why I'm teaching this series is because, very simply, my loves, and just I want to be really honest, really straightforward with you. I don't want you to have another year go by where you don't take hold and cultivate sovereignty in your relationship with money. It's so easy just to get into the motions of the year. And then all of a sudden you are a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years with the same old habits and patterns because maybe you're afraid, it's fear is the root of all of it, but you got avoidant, you got resistant, you just didn't take the time to get a hold of this part of your life. And, I have had, especially just in relation to like my dad, who was a CFO. My dad, as many of you know, has passed away. He was a CPA CFO, and he really taught me a lot over the years. I mean, first he taught me how I didn't want to be with money because he was so afraid and very like frugal, and like kind of scared me and made me kind of think that like money wasn't something I could figure out. But as he saw, as I got older, how tenacious I was and how not only like ambitious with like figuring things out over time, especially towards the end of his life, he really gained respect for my ability to relate to money in my own way and take hold of it. And the money system that I built, that I'll be talking about a bit today, and I'll be teaching you on February 3rd for the free event. I'll talk about it in a second. But I remember showing it to him and my mom, and my dad getting tears in his eyes. He was a Scorpio, but like getting tears in his eyes because he was just so blown away at the transformation that I'd undergone from being someone who was so afraid and lacked confidence with my finances to really like taking the bull by the horns, so to speak, and really figuring this stuff out. So if I can, my loves, you freaking can. You just need a plan. You need a process. You need support. And I will say the way that I teach this stuff, and we're going to talk about it in this episode today, it's very nourishing. I bring in the astrology in my work. I bring in the spiritual and energetic and emotional aspect, because I think for women, I think this is true for anyone, but I think it's especially true for us, that money is a very emotional, safety laden topic. And when we bring in like the deeper subconscious work, or when we bring in like the deeper relationship to money through astrology, through our own unique astrology blueprint, then very simply that really softens the resistance or the avoidance that we can have to really taking care of this stuff and making a true change. So very simply, I'm going to talk to you about how to stop overspending and actually feel good about money in 2026. And then I have a very, very special live free event invitation for you to join me on February 3rd. My money work, MWMM, it's personal finance meets astrology. It is going to be growing, up leveling, and changing. And this February 3rd event will be a very powerful opportunity to like lift up the hood of my financial organization process and also get access, last chance access to original member pricing. So I'll talk a little bit about that at the end of the episode, but let's go ahead and dive into our topic for today, episode 2 of the Money Motivation series. And, I polled you babes recently on my Instagram stories, and I asked you about overspending, and by a landslide, so many of you said that overspending was something that felt like a problem for you. And that makes sense because I consider myself a spender. I'm going to talk about the like money paradigm that I like to teach, but I look at myself as a spender. And I think so often we're drawn to people who are like us. So it would make sense to me that you perhaps be drawn to me if you more so see yourself as a spender. But I like to teach something in understanding your unique relationship to money as like the spender saver paradigm. So spenders are going to be people who just like over circulate money. They just like don't hold it. They don't grow it for the future. They just spend it and get rid of it. Whereas the opposite side of the spectrum is going to be probably more like savers, and an extreme expression of that would be hoarders. So like an extreme expression of spenders would be overspenders, and perhaps an extreme example of savers would be like hoarders or something like that, people who just hold and hoard money. So what we want to do in having a healthier, more organized, clarified relationship with money is we want to meet that paradigm in the middle. We want to have healthy saving habits and healthy spending habits, because money is about circulation. Money is not just about like overspending, getting rid of it, YOLO all day. Just like it's not about like holding it, hoarding it, keeping it all for yourself, over saving, over investing, things like this. So we really want to be cultivating conscious money behavior with our spending and not see having a weekly spend, which I'm going to talk about, aka a budget, not as restriction, but actually as a freedom inducing tool. And this is like a nervous system shift, my loves, because I will tell you, like, if there is a dragon that I still work on with myself and my own relationship to money, it is my spending. And I will talk about it in this episode. And something I always like to say with me is like, I don't look at myself as a money expert. I'm not a money expert. I'm not an expert at money at all. I'm a money teacher. And I would say that I'm a guide. And I am a woman who is very actively healing and constantly evolving her relationship with money. And I say I'm not an expert. And if you need to listen to an expert, then that's fine. You can turn this episode off now and obviously go with someone that you feel is an expert. But I really seek to teach like embodied financial wisdom. And one way that I believe you cultivate wisdom is by making mistakes. So I don't see myself as some kind of money guru or perfect person with money. Money is something that I am having a relationship with, just like you. And the reason that the money system that I teach exists is literally because I have been a mess financially and made really stupid decisions, or been so terrified and resistant of money that I just didn't even know how to approach it. And that is really why my work exists, and it exists in the way that it does. It's literally from those times and those moments and those experiences in my life where I just, and even to present day when I have issues with my finances or fear around money, It's all information, and it helps me evolve and get better and fine tune my system and fine tune the way that I teach and guide other women. So very simply, let's talk about overspending as emotional regulation. So what happens so often, and I know this for myself to be true, I've always seen spending money as more of an emotional event, not really like, oh, I'm just spending to, spend for no reason. There's typically some kind of like emotional payoff. And for me, I've always seen it more so as having connection with other people or spending on something that I feel makes me feel better about myself or helps me to take care of myself. And in its lowest expression, I have seen myself use spending as a way to emotionally escape or emotionally regulate when I am having a hard time or I'm facing something that I don't want to face. And I want us, something that I teach in MWMM, and we're going to talk about this on February 3rd, is making money from your money blueprint. And something that I like to teach, and some of you might have heard me talk about this before, but it's the second house, eighth house money access in astrology. So the second house is your seen relationship with money. Your eighth house is your more emotive, unseen relationship with money. And I think it's interesting that Taurus and Scorpio rule that access. So Taurus is very finite, tangible, like you have a system, like you need a plan, like you need to earn, like it's just more of like the tactical, practical things that you need to do to care for money. You have a system, you have organization, you have a weekly spending account, you like care for your debt, things like this. It's like the seen, tactical, tangible relationship to money. Then on the Scorpio axis, the eighth house axis, that's your more emotive, shadowy, unseen, spiritual, energetic, ancestral relationship to money. And so if you have issues with overspending or using spending money to regulate yourself emotionally, like I have done, then that is going to exist in your eighth house. That's going to exist in your eighth house, emotive, energetic, and even ancestral relationship to your finances. Money is a very emotional experience. It is. This is not an issue of willpower. You're not a bad person if you don't feel like you're good with money. And for so many of us, we were never taught money. We never had someone sit down and say, these are the rules of money. This is how money works. Get into that second house and even eighth house. Like these are the emotions that can come up around money. It's like, we're just somehow expected to know this stuff. And I feel like that's a lot of women who find me, and even sometimes men too. I've even had men sit in with their partners or just men come in and take my master classes because they're just looking for a nourishing way to approach this subject. And there can be a lot of shame. Shame also exists in the eighth house paradigm because we can feel like, frick, we should frickin' know this is usually the internal dialogue. But if no one ever sat down and taught you or told you how money works, why should you be ashamed of that? The only thing I would say, and we don't even need to use the word shame, but if you're gonna fault yourself for anything, it would just be to bury your head in the sand and think that it's going to take care of itself. This stuff only changes when you actually approach it, and you can. And there's a way to do it that feels soft, approachable, astrological, organized, and clarifying. And that's what this series is about. That's what all of my work is about. So let yourself off the mat if you feel like you're someone who maybe doesn't like intuitively get money. Very, very few people do. Most people, even the biggest financial experts in the world, they taught themselves money. Maybe they had an inkling or a hunch, but usually like what Steve Harv Eker says in his book, Secrets of a Millionaire Mind, every master was once a disaster. And I love that saying so much because it's true. Every person who has cultivated some form of mastery, typically they cultivated that mastery because they learned the hard way. So be gentle, be good to yourself about it. I feel like so many women hate the word budget, and I don't really like that word either. I don't use that word in my work, so I'm not going to talk to you about budgeting, but instead, I am going to talk to you about something called a weekly spending account. And so what this is actually part of the money management system that I teach, but essentially what this is this is an account that is devoted to spending money that week. That is it. And then you track it inside of a spreadsheet. In addition, if you are a cutie where you're like, spreadsheets, what are we talking about? Spreadsheets are amazing. Make them cute, make them sexy. I always give mine gorgeous colors. Like my organization sheets are so special because they're beautiful. They're nice for me to look at. I enjoy formatting them. This is a very new thing for me. This is like a thing that started in my 30s when I started to get organized, but very simply, if you don't like to budget, that's okay, but you do need some semblance of organization and some semblance of a plan. And what you can do is you literally have this account, it's your weekly spend account, and you give yourself like an allowance, for lack of a better word, or an allocation if you think that word sounds a little more grown up and sexy. So you basically give yourself a weekly allocation and then you track what it is that you spend out of that account. And the 3 themes, I suppose, that I teach that like can go in your weekly spend spreadsheet is, for me, it's groceries, it's eating out, and then it's miscellaneous. And miscellaneous for me is like my manicures, things that Tarot, my pupper girl, needs. Like today, some of you know this from an episode I did over the summer, but I love Kachava, the protein powder, the matcha flavor. Oh my God, I go through a bag like every 2 weeks and I track and I allocate for that in my miscellaneous part of my weekly spend. So if you don't like the word budget, then I feel like having a weekly spend account, the thing I had to get over when it came to money was like, I was going to be spending money no matter what. So if I'm going to be spending money, how about I just have like a plan in terms of how to spend it, or at least some semblance of clarity and organization of what is being spent. And I will tell you, I play a little game with myself where every week I see if I can stay within my weekly spend. And sometimes towards the very end of the week, it gets really tough and I have to get a little more creative so that I'm not making transfers to cover, maybe like last week, even I had New Year's Eve, I had a bunch of stuff that I needed to take care of for Tarot. So it was the first day of my allocation for the week. And already I was like, oh my gosh, I already spent a really good amount of my miscellaneous. And then I ended up getting sick. So it was like really interesting just to figure out, how do I allocate this amount of money that I've given myself for the week with an unexpected thing, like I was so sick and I couldn't really cook for myself. So it gives you clarity. It's not about doing it perfectly, but it's just giving you the semblance of like, I have this specified account, I spend out of this account, and then I track what I'm spending in this sheet. And I have built this sheet for you, and I will have it for you as a gift at the February 3rd event, which I'll talk to you about in a couple of minutes. Now, there is a cost to money avoidance, and there's a relief when you actually start to financially organize yourself and having a healthy, beautiful account that just takes care of your weekly spend. This can help you get out of avoidance, which is usually what overspending is. Like, I know for myself, when I am in a mode of spending, it's usually stemmed from vagueness. It's usually stemmed from emotionality. And instead of going into vagueness or avoiding my emotions, I have to ask, what am I trying to service? What is going on? Because there is a cost, my angels, and I say this again so gently, but there is a cost to like ignoring your money, and it compounds over time. And compounding is a really important term in like investing. And it's one of, I don't remember who said this, Warren Buffett or somebody, but like that compounding is like the 8th wonder of the world, or maybe it was Einstein. I feel like there's always these that people say that Einstein gets credited with all these quotes that he never said, but somebody says that compounding is the eighth wonder of the world. That's an investing term. But the gift as well with the way that I teach you this stuff is seeing how you can compound your own money by having financial organization. There's another thing that I like to teach. This is like more of a traditional budgeting term, but it's called a sinking fund. And so I would notice, okay, where do I overspend, or where do I go over my weekly spend, like every week or every time I make this purchase? And what I do is I started creating a special sinking fund for that expense. Like for me specifically, I've got this hair. I am not naturally blonde at all. This is a lot of upkeep. I go and see Christina, my hairstylist, every 3 weeks. There's an expense to that. So I had to take, okay, what does she charge me for my gloss? What does she charge me for my highlight? And then I essentially turn it into a hair sinking fund. And I just allocate a certain amount every week so that it compounds in that sinking fund account. And that when it comes time to make that purchase, the money is there. You can do that with your hair. You can do that with a vacation. You can do that with something you'd like to buy. I also do that with like my facials and like different self-care that I do, my lymphatic massages, because again, it's like, if I'm going to get a lymphatic massage or get my manicure and pedicure, I need to make sure that I have a sinking fund so that over the weeks, instead of just spending that money, I'm actually letting it allocate to a sinking fund, compound over time, and then the money is there when it's time to spend it. And that feels so good. And then my angels, this also gets you out of using debt. Like I made a commitment in 2025 to stop using personal credit cards as well as credit cards for my business. So I live on a completely cash basis. And I will tell you, initially that was very, very confronting because I not only as a spender love using credit cards, but I would just be like, oh, okay, I can spend on this. And then, I would take care of it at the end of the month. But there would be months where it would just get out of control, especially when I was going through my divorce and I was just so out of my body. And spending was also a way that I was like emotionally just, taking care of myself, so to speak, even though, oh my gosh, when I look back on what I spent during that time, I've had to really meet myself with forgiveness, and I had to really deepen my relationship to my system and make it even stronger, which is why I also got into living into a cash basis, because I want to be a woman who invests in her future. I want to be a woman where I'm cash positive and I am really building myself financially over time. And I'm also able to spend in, like, I'm a clothes girly. I love fashion. Like, I can live without taking trips, to be honest. I'm not like crazy about flying, but I love getting dressed. That's actually another reason I'm very excited to move back to LA, because living in Laguna, I don't really wear any of my clothes. I like live in chic, and chic and not so chic, like Joa Brown sweatpants. Like, I rarely get dressed here. It's just kind of not the culture here, but I'm really excited to go back to LA and like actually have my girlfriends there and get to wear all my fun clothes. So having like a clothes sinking fund. I'm just giving you ideas here so that you can start to think, how can I become my own greatest money advocate? Because overspending so often, my loves, it blocks future you. It blocks peace. It blocks choice. It blocks freedom. And when you feel like you are in sovereignty with the way you care for your money, and it might be a little bit clunky getting this stuff started, but once you've got it going, it is like the greatest gift that you can ever give to yourself. And you also see, like, I used to ask myself, well, how am I going to do this? Or how am I going to do that if I don't, have like my credit card? And it is amazing when you make a commitment to actually, and I'm not saying you need to not have credit cards. This is just the choice that I made, but it's like, when you get into a place where you're like, okay, higher self, okay, God, universe, okay, self, I am really going to look at this and I'm going to stop my faulty patterns, you will be amazed at the miracles that start to turn over in your life and reveal themselves, whether quickly or slowly. But when you do what is challenging and you're willing to put effort into this stuff, my loves, it is its own miracle, its own rewards. And very simply, just where I want to land this episodes, where I want to land this, you guys, it's so funny having a cold and getting over a cold. So if I sound so hilarious, thank you for loving me through it. Like, I couldn't breathe through my nose for like 2 days. So I'm so happy that this series is cruising and I'm actually able to do it. But if I keep tripping over my words, that is why. It's like my brain is remembering what it's like to actually talk. I didn't talk for a couple of days, which I also think was extremely good for me. But just to really land this episode, having a weekly spend account and giving yourself a set weekly amount is one key way to stop overspending or spending all of your paycheck. In my money management system, when you get money and you receive money, whether from your business, your paycheck, or both, you literally give that money a job. You send it to specific accounts and you tell it what it's doing for you. I always say, you need to give your money a job or it's going to give you a job. And you would much rather give your money a job than it giving you a job. Now, to just land this concept, once you have your weekly spending account, you have a designated debit card for that account. And then you can open up a spreadsheet. I use Google Spreadsheets. And then you put 3 categories. So like for me, this actually is what I discovered when I started doing my money tracking, which is what I talked about in episode 1. I found, okay, what do I spend money on? Groceries, eating out, and then miscellaneous, which covers like stuff that I get on Amazon, like my manicures, like different things just that keep my life flowing and thriving and surviving week in, week out. That goes in the miscellaneous section. And then you track weekly in the spreadsheet through something called a money date. You just have a date with your money. You just open up your weekly spending account and you take a look. Okay, what is here? Let me put it in the spreadsheet. That's a very basic way to get started. But my loves, I will have all of this built for you and I will be teaching it and gifting it to you on February 3rd at the live MWMM event. So very, very simply, you can feel good about money in 2026 by just putting effort into changing your current habits. That is all. Really, all you need to do is just be willing to focus and pay attention to this stuff. And then if I feel like a great teacher for you, lean in over here and just work off of the systems that I've already built so that you can just apply this and land this into your life immediately. And because I just feel like going back to that 8th house theme, there is like nothing worse than feeling money shame or doing things with your finances where you're like, I know I could be doing better. I know my potential. I know that I could be doing better. So my loves, I want to invite you to my February 3rd event. We are going to be hosting a live money up level class and MWMM enrollment party. So if you are navigating change or wanting to make big change with your money, your business, your life, I want to invite you to join me live on February 3rd for a powerful money class and enrollment experience into MWMM. So if you're looking for just more grounded financial clarity and you want to feel emotionally safe with money, really what we're going to be covering in the February 3rd event, it's going to feel so nourishing and you're going to get the full experience of what it's like to bring together my personal finance and astrological system, which is really the core of the success of our members in MWMM. We have had women inside of this membership heal 5 figures worth of debt, stabilize their finances, massively expanded their earning capacity by utilizing these 2 sides of the coin, the personal finance and the astrological approach. This is 7 years that I've had this space, and we are going to open a very, very special, not only the live teaching, but we're also going to have a very, very special enrollment opportunity on February 3rd. And what you will receive is free access to the 5-day 2026 Money Up Level Intensive that will be happening March 2026. You will have free access if you join via MWMM on February 3rd. You will also have access to how to stop overspending and build real wealth. This will be a VIP money chat inside MWMM with me. I will be teaching a 4-part women divorce and healthy financial partnership course inside of MWMM. And of course, like I mentioned, my loves, you will have access to original member pricing. MWMM is up leveling and our price is increasing in 2026. It is such a special community. It's where I am the most involved. And if you would like to get my eyes on your finances, on your astrological blueprint, and you're just ready for a change and a true shift, this is a process and a space that can truly support you in doing that, especially. And it's so especially fun because we bring in the soulful, the energetic, and the astrological. So this isn't just hyper left brain personal finance stuff, but it really creates a finesse because you also have the spiritual, the energetic, the emotional, and the astrological tools as well, which really softens the resistance and just helps you expand past any limitation and really heal. Because for so many of us, as I said in this episode, no one sat down and taught us money. So that's actually kind of a gift. Or if they did and it isn't working for us, we have an opportunity at this stage to immerse ourselves in education and communities where we can actually learn this stuff on our own terms. So if you would like to join me for the free event on February 3rd, I will put a link to join me. It takes just a moment. I just need your email. I'll send you all the info and I will look forward to working with you on February 3rd. The link to enroll will be in the show notes. I love you very much. I'm so honored to be a part of your life, to be a part of your financial up level for 2026. And thank you, as always, for your time, for your love, for your focus, and for being a part of this community. If you feel like this episode or this series would be helpful, please send it to someone that you think could really benefit from my approach to finances. If they're just like, I need like a nourishing, Aries, motivating bestie to talk to me about this stuff, please send it on. I love you, my darlings. I will see you in the final episode of this series where we will be talking about navigating a slow economy as an entrepreneur. I will see you there. Love you so much.